I thought I was done pretty much with reviewing Ahsoka after the first 3 episodes. They were all rather appalling. However, I watched episode 4 last night, and there's absolutely, definitely stuff to talk about here. And boy, it is, though, a mixed bag. Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. There's no denying for me that the first 3 episodes of Ahsoka have been pretty abysmal to date. Boring, bland, characters are like flipping dishwater. But episode 4 had some stuff in it. Now, don't get me wrong, there is some appalling stuff in this episode, which doesn't make a lick of sense because it's current day Star Wars. However, there's some actually really interesting stuff in it as well, which is worthy of conversation. So let's get into it, shall we? Star Wars, but not really though, is it? It's not really. Okay. We start off with the ship undergoing repairs, and then we have a very weird and bizarre conversation with Ahsoka and Sabine. Now, some people might cope that this is actually setting up a payoff later on. No, it doesn't, because it doesn't make sense. When Sabine comes out of the ship to speak to Ahsoka, Ahsoka is meditating. Meditating, of course, is a way for a Jedi to keep their connection with the Force. Because once upon a time, Jedi did things like, I don't know, sense the presence of people. Or, I don't know, sense where danger and something is not quite right. So meditating allows you to keep that connection. However, in a few moments' time, Ahsoka is not going to have any fucking idea that they're under attack and have just been ambushed. Some people, again, might say, yes, but there's android. You can't sense androids or droids or whatever you want to call them in this. True. But as we've already established, the other people, they're just organics because they had self-preservation in the space battle in episode 3. They're masked, so we can't see what they look like, but they're definitely organic. Because if they were droids, we've already seen in episode 1, they will initiate self-destructs in an attempt to kill Ahsoka. So it'd make no sense whatsoever for droids to avoid getting hit by Ahsoka's spacecraft when they could have just rammed it and blew it up. So she could have sensed the organics. She should have even have sensed the Padawan of Ray Stevenson, and also the Inquisitor. Who is the Inquisitor, by the way? We're gonna find out. Spoiler alert, nobody! Fucking nobody. Is it Ezra? Is it Starkiller? Oh, who could it be? No, it's a green mist creature. It's a fucking nothing. Anyway, we'll get to that. Don't you worry. We'll fucking get to that. So this really contrived conversation, after the first 3 episodes where Sabine and Ahsoka have reconnected, fucking scissoring, they have buried the hatchet. Sabine has come on again as Ahsoka's Padawan. We are pretending that Sabine knows absolutely nothing about being a Padawan, and we've already established that Sabine has 0 connection to the Force. So why the fuck is she even a Padawan? But never mind. Ahsoka turns to Sabine and says, "Can I rely on you?" And Sabine's all, "Of course you can. Duh." And then Ahsoka is all, "But really?" And then Sabine's like, yeah, of course you can. And then Ahsoka is, "But really?" Because later on in the episode, Sabine is going to have a choice to destroy the map and prevent the hyperdrive ring from hyperdriving, or to keep it so they can all go through and she can hopefully find Ezra. Now, this would make more sense. People saying, well, she sensed the conflict within Sabine. Well, if she sensed the conflict within Sabine, why didn't she sense the fucking people right outside the fucking ship? Why didn't she sense the Padawan and the, I was going to say Vindicator for a moment, and no, that's a massive spaceship. Inquisitor. So it doesn't make sense. It becomes contrived. Because if you want to try and set up the ability to sense one thing, why aren't you able to sense the other? But, that's just writing, folks. And writing is hard. Fucking Disney, anyway. So, Ray Stevenson, who is just anti-distinctly minty. underused in this show. Every time he's on the screen, he just exudes gravitas and presence. Not just because of his stature. He's a tall man. He's like 1 meter 91. He was. R.I.P. Ray. What a tragic loss to everything here. But every time he speaks, even if he's only got a couple of lines, and they have wasted him in the first 3 episodes, every time you're just like, I want to know more about this character. In actual fact, I am much more invested in the relationship between Ray Stevenson as a fallen Jedi and his Padawan than I am Ahsoka and Sabine. Ahsoka and Sabine don't come across as master and Padawan. They come across as 2 ex-lovers that have reconnected after a bad breakup where one of them filled up a U-Haul and left San Francisco. Whereas I'm intrigued as to why this fallen Jedi, Ray Stevenson, is wanting to try and find Grand Admiral Thrawn to start a war between the Empire, his once sworn enemy, and the New Republic. And do you know what's in the way of all of that being much more interesting? Space Karen. She serves no purpose other than to be a whammon boss. No purpose. Ray Stevenson has pretty much got the same motivation as she has. So why is she even there? Female energy? Remember, the Force is female. What is it? Zero purpose. Now, if Ray Stevenson was heading up this whole thing, that would be infinitely more intriguing because he is infinitely more intriguing. All Space Bint does is stand with her hands behind her back and go, I bark an order. And that's it. You know, Grand Moff, you know nothing. You're a Space Bint. Shut your cow mouth. So, Ray Stevenson tells the Inquisitor and his Padawan to go and delay Ahsoka and Sabine so that he can guard and defend the map as it all comes together and they start to decipher the coordinates for the hyperdrive, which as we've already discussed from the first 3 episodes, makes no fucking sense whatsoever. But don't worry about it. Sense again. Sense and Star Wars do not go together in the same sentence anymore. Ahsoka, name Kenobi, Ahsoka, Juan Solo. Stop naming Star Wars shows after people's fucking names. So anyway, they're repairing the ship and they don't sense the ambush, which has just happened outside. Oopsies, but don't worry, folks. They instantly dispatch them. So then they decide to go and attack the map area so they can prevent the ring from hyper booshing. And he says, stick together because you 2 ex-former lovers are better together. And they're like, oh, of course we'll stay together. And then, of course, they immediately split apart during the... Okay. Oh, God, writing is fucking hard. So, Sabine and Ahsoka, they come together and are met by the Inquisitor and Chihuahua. So, Chihuahua and Sabine pair off, and Ahsoka and the Inquisitor pair off. So you're like, who is the Inquisitor? Is it Ezra? Is it Starkiller or a Starkiller clone? No. As I've already mentioned, it's a green mist creature that just goes "Bah!" and green mist spurgs out of it once a lightsaber is run through them. Them, of course, being a pronoun and not a preferred pronoun. Learn the fucking difference.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
So Sabine says to Ahsoka, you go ahead. Let's split up. Instead of you helping me, no, I'll delay her. You go and stop the ring. Even though it'll probably only take us 30 seconds. Hera, oh my God, who is just an appalling character, appalling, decides to take the ghost, and leap to the ring. And she takes a squadron of X-Wings with her. And there's a guy that comes out and says, General, you can't leave without clearance. And she's all, excuse me? I'm like a general? I can do what the f I want? Okay? Because whoever this Hera character is, certainly not the Hera from Rebels. It's fucking Oh, Jesus Christ. Insufferable. So she goes and takes her son with her, Jason. She takes her son, the son that she allegedly wants to protect from becoming a Jedi, because Jason is the offspring of her and Kanan. Kanan, of course, being a Jedi who's now deceased. Thankfully, he's a white man. That guy. So the one who in the previous episode, we speculated that she wanted to protect from becoming a Jedi because she'd only seen Jedi be killed, decides to take her son on the most dangerous mission. Star Wars, talking about Star Wars. Okay, so she now leaps up to the ship. She's going to work out the coordinates with her droids. Ray Stevenson's going to protect the map. Sabine and the Padawan go toe to toe, and the Padawan gets the upper hand on Sabine. And Sabine is on the ground, and the Padawan's moving in for the kill, and then Sabine goes, ha! And the Padawan turns away because she's just about to be hit with a force blast. And then she's not hit with a force blast because, of course, as we know, Sabine has no connection to the force, but is still going to be the bestest ever. Don't worry, the force is female. Doesn't get hit with any force blast at all. So the Padawan realizes she's not connected to the force. And instead of running that advantage, because now she can predict this a lot better now. She could run through Sabine. Instead of doing that, Sabine fires a bolt which she manages to deflect or dodge. She throws down the Padawan a Batman gas capsule and runs away. That gas capsule has now given you a huge advantage over Sabine because you can use the Force to sense where Sabine is. Sabine can't do that. So you could have just thrown the gas pellet down and whoosh, Sabine's dead. But she runs away because Sabine has more fucking plot armor than a character in the latter seasons of Game of Thrones. Fucking hell. But then we get Ray Stevenson and Ahsoka. This, I thought, was really good. Legitimately, I thought this was really good. Mainly because of Ray, because unfortunately, Ahsoka is just such a bland, uninteresting character. I was discussing with Verbal Riot on Twitter. You should subscribe to Verbal Riot. He's freaking amazing. I was discussing with Verbal Riot. He put out a tweet about why do we like these heroes? And I said, I don't know. We're only rooting them because of good versus bad, because we're being told by the show to. There is no characteristics of Ahsoka or Sabine that makes me want to believe in them, support them in any capacity. In actual fact, Sabine's pretty fucking insufferable as a character. Whereas Ray Stevenson has displayed, even in the minuscule amount of time that he's had on screen, he's displayed some intriguing characteristics. Why is he doing this? His motivations, etc. He's been very controlled. He's been very different from, let's say, somebody who's completely fallen to the dark side. Yes, the lightsabers are orange and not red, which shows that they haven't completely, you know what I mean? Even though it's meant to be kyber crystals. But don't worry about any of that nonsense. So it's just like, why? There's much more. Why? What are you? Tell me. I want to find out about Ray Stevenson and his Padawan than there is about any of this. But this fight, I actually pretty enjoyed. They tried to make it into like a samurai duel. Well, it was like a samurai versus a knight. That's the way that I saw this fight. It was like a classic knight in armor versus a samurai. So I did actually like that juxtaposition between the two. And they did try to do a little bit of the old crouching tiger, hidden dragon thing, in as much as not the in the air acrobatics, but when you're coming up against the wall, you stick your leg up to balance you on the wall as you douche. I did like that. I did like that. And Ahsoka is asking this sort of controlled guy, what's it all about? And he doesn't want to initiate conflict with Ahsoka. he wants to talk, and he's hoping that he can potentially convince Ahsoka that this is the right thing. This purpose that I'm serving is a righteous purpose. And of course, there's nothing more dangerous than somebody who believes in a righteous cause. And it's Ahsoka who activates her lightsaber first, causing Ray Stevenson to respond accordingly. I found that very interesting indeed. And again, Ray Stevenson's character becomes infinitely more interesting when he engages with Sabine later on. So they start fighting, and at the beginning, it's just, you know, it's feeling each other out. It's feeling each other out. There's you know, quick little exchanges, stoosh, all that kind of normal all that kind of normal lightsaber stuff. And you might be forgiven for thinking, oh, this feels like it's just going to be a normal fight. And then they end up crossing swords. They end up crossing lightsabers, and a switch flicks on in Ray Stevenson, and you're like, oh shit. Because they kind of boosh, cross lightsabers, and you're like, oh, it's one of those moments where they're like, and then they break away. No. They cross lightsabers, and Ray Stevenson's very sort of controlled face suddenly goes, oosh, and he just drives his power and displays that he is so much stronger than Ahsoka. And then Ahsoka is on the back foot for pretty much the rest of the fight. And you feel that was a moment that he was... His conflict with the light and the dark side, that was when he was using the anger of the dark side to force that. And so suddenly he's like, not becoming reckless. No, because it's still control, but it's just power. And he's just driving Ahsoka back at pretty much every opportunity. So I thought that was pretty darn good. She's trying to grab the map and prevent the map from finding the coordinates. He's blocking her at pretty much every turn. It's an interesting fight. It's a really interesting fight. Space Karen, shut the fuck up. The Padawan arrives, and Ahsoka thinks Sabine's been killed because it's the Padawan that arrives and on her own. So she's sort of distracted by the fact that she believes Sabine's now dead because she can't sense anything. That's why it doesn't make sense at the beginning to try and pretend that she senses the conflict between Sabine and wanting to find Ezra and destroying the map. That's why it doesn't make sense. That's why it becomes contrived. I'm all for setup and payoff. I love me some setup and payoff. This isn't it. This is just bad writing, I'm afraid. And then, so she force pushes the Padawan into a rock and knocks her out. And then Sabine arrives, and that allows Ray Stevenson to knock Ahsoka off the cliff. But the map has been knocked out of the holder, so everything's deactivated and the coordinates have not been set. And before Ahsoka was knocked off the cliff edge, she says to Sabine, destroy the map. So Sabine puts her gun to the map, and Ray Stevenson just becomes a fucking legend. He now returns back to his calm demeanor, his stoic, calm, controlled. But my God, you feel every single bit of power exuding from this guy. That, folks, is called good acting. Isn't it fun? He's the only person in the fucking show I believe as a character. Nobody else in the show I believe as a character. They're wooden, they're bland, they're one note. But Ray Stevenson, I believe this guy. I believe this is a fallen Jedi. I believe the conflict between the light and the dark within this guy. And I want to know more. Would you like to know more? And again, it's a tragedy that Ray Stevenson is no longer with us. I mean, he's probably going to get bitch killed in the next couple of episodes because that's modern day Star Wars, but he's the only person I fucking believe. And he talks Sabine out of destroying the map. He's like, look, we have similar goals. You want to use the hyperdrive to find Ezra. And I need to find Thrawn. And if you give me the key, and if we finish the coordinates, I promise you, I will reunite you with Ezra. And you believe him. This doesn't come across as some one-note, mustache-twirling villain that's like, now I've got the map, kill her. No, he's negotiating. Remember that word negotiate. Remember when Jedi were sent to negotiate because of their negotiation skills. Ray Stevenson's character, you believe exactly what he's saying. These are the terms. If you give me the key willingly, and he says willingly, which is even better. He's not trying to force take, he doesn't use the force to just snap it from a hand, which he could have. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't you just do that? But then he says the word, if you give it to me willingly. And then when he said that word willingly, I'm thinking to myself, is he thinking that Sabine is somebody that could potentially be turned to his cause because he senses conflict within her between becoming a Jedi and being loyal to Ahsoka and the mission, and also her relationship, friendship, whatever it is with Ezra? Maybe he can use that to turn her. I actually thought this was really good stuff. I legit thought this was really good stuff. Ray Stevenson was, and I hate to use that past tense, was the GOAT. And he's been the GOAT in this show. And he's the only fucking thing interesting in this show. And it's not even close. Not even close. So Sabine does it. She thinks about it. Ray Stevenson doesn't push the advantage he has. He could just overwhelm her now. And something happens in a minute which makes this bit even better. But he doesn't. He allows her to think. He allows her to make the decision. And it's very important that Sabine does make this decision, because in her giving him the map willingly, it shows her intent and where her true loyalties are lying. And I believe that Ray Stevenson's character thinks he can now take advantage of this and maybe bring her to his cause, to his side. Because after she willingly gives the map to him so that they can reinitiate the coordinates, the Padawan, she starts to force choke Sabine, something which she could have done in the fight as well, when she realized that Sabine has no force powers. Some people are saying, why didn't you just immediately force choke Sabine in the fight? I sort of get potentially why she didn't, because she probably thought if I went to force choke, she'd just force blast it away. So it wasn't necessarily the tactical move to make when she's already shown that she can outbest her in a lightsaber duel, which she does technically again in this. And she believes that's her probably her best strategy, is to just outfight her. So I'm okay with that. And now I could be really giving the benefit of the doubt here, but I'm my willingness to believe that is fine. That is certainly within my suspension of disbelief. So Chihuahua Padawan starts to force choke Sabine, which could kill her. And Ray Stevenson says, stop. I gave her my word. And then she sort of holds on for a little again. And then he goes, stop. And she stops. Because the second time, Ray Stevenson isn't mucking about. If she doesn't stop, he will stop her, which makes the negotiation aspect even better, in my opinion. And so they do put her into shackles, and they do take her up to the ship, to the ring, and they do finish off the coordinates. And then Hera comes in with the fighters, and they just fucking hyperdrive right through them, which causes a couple of the fighters to die. I think they were men, so it doesn't matter. And then Jason's just like, I got a bad feeling about this, because Jason is force sensitive because his father Kanan was a Jedi. Then Ahsoka wakes up in the world between worlds, and she hears Anakin's voice, and she turns around, and a very, very badly digitalized, de-aged face of Hayden Christensen as Anakin comes into effect. And then the music fades to Darth Vader's theme. So this is the bait bit of the episode. But I've got nothing against Hayden Christian as a guy. The guy actually comes across as a decent chap. And I understand why people would fall for this bait. I get it. But it's Ray Stevenson. This is all fucking Ray Stevenson, this show. That's it. So all in all, definitely the best episode out of the four. All the beginning bit, just abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. The writing is horrendous in places. But Ray Stevenson is just carried this episode on his 1 meter, 91 centimeter strong back. Because he was the GOAT. And we'll see where next episode goes, which I believe is actually going to be in select cinemas in the US. Such is the hype, they believe, of Anakin and Ahsoka being together. But we all know this isn't going to be Anakin, but what, regardless. So let's see where it goes next week. Hope you enjoyed the vid. Until next time, you take care. Bye for now.